Let's do small AI research project in this video. This is the same thing you would do if you were writing AI research paper or working as AI researcher anywhere. Your main goal with AI research is to understand deeply and fully everything you do, all of the code, all of the logic, and then after you understand it, you will be able to come up with new ideas. But most of your time goes to understanding everything you do. Before you try to come up with new ideas, you have to first understand everything, and only then you will be able to come up with really good new ideas. So I have this large language model, which is a very small language model, I should say, that we are coding in our community on our YouTube. It works 100% well. We're trying to get it to GPT-2 level. It's a bit tougher than we expected, but now we want to implement this really good research that's very promising that will help us in our goal of making this GPT-2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Join my school to become AI researcher, free trial right now, link below. To do this, I have to both understand this LLM very deeply and this paper very deeply. However, that's a difficult task. So I recommend you do projects and then you gain the deep understanding while doing the projects. So I don't want to just spend 2, 3, 4 weeks trying to understand both of these and then trying to do projects. I'm gonna start with projects immediately, and main reason I'm gonna do this is because ChatGPT, Gemini, they can help me understand quickly everything I don't understand, and projects are more fun. So right now I have a decent but not 100% full understanding of this language model, but I have pretty good understanding. But understanding of this paper is so-so for me, so I need to work a lot more to understand it. But let's start doing this research, and every little project I do, I will understand it more and more, better and better. Luckily, they have this code that I can copy paste into my LLM, into AI, and so Gemini or Claude can add this to my LLM. However, we definitely don't want to just use AI to code. We want to understand everything that's happening. However, it's difficult, it requires a lot of time, so I recommend, this is the way I'm gonna start. I just copied that code and paper, and I told Gemini to add that code, so Gemini added all of this code. Now I'm gonna run the experiments, and I'm gonna see if this performs better, if there are any bugs, if there are any issues, and that's the way I'm gonna slowly get deeper and deeper understanding of what should happen according to the paper and what's happening and my LLM and everything. Now, I don't expect this little research to be some next groundbreaking transformer thing. Instead, it's a stepping stone towards me understanding how to do research and understanding these projects, LLMs and everything. So even if I was to write a whole paper, a single paper, you should not put all of your hope and expectations into a single paper. Paper is a stepping stone towards building skill. And you know that a lot of papers need to be written for one paper to be really good. So don't look at these other papers as waste. They are all stepping stones, your training, your improvement in doing AI research and exploring new ideas and getting deeper understanding. And so I recommend you write blog posts or record videos like I do right now. So these videos that I do, they help you, they help me, they help everybody. They are stepping stones towards building my skill and doing great AI research. To summarize, all of these projects, YouTube videos, even research papers we write are mere stepping stones, tools to be used when we are moving towards that single breakthrough that will change the whole field and building the skill towards it. I'm gonna use Novita AI, however, you can use any of these GPU providers. So I cloned the LLM and I trained the baseline, and then I trained these changes from this paper that was implemented by Gemini. And actually changes do work better, hyperconnections work better. However, we have some nonce instability after some amount of training. And for now the code is quite complex, the ideas are quite complex. You see this implementation by Gemini, you see how it trains, and then goes back to huge loss, which is not good. Now the problem is I don't really get this code, I don't get these ideas 100%, so I think we're gonna have to go back to the research paper and drawing board and understanding everything. Because just doing it like this, it doesn't work out. But it's good that I tried training it and that I realized that I don't understand it 100%, and now I realize that I need to go back and understand it better and how it all works. This is what Gemini recommends: drawing and mathematical intuition first 2 days, understanding the tensor shapes, and try to prove equation 33 yourself. It's gonna be this one that looks kind of rough. So I'm actually gonna look to do that. Let me just show you days 3 to 5 microcoding. So here it wants me to implement this algorithm myself, which is interesting. There is a lot of code. I'm not sure if I should know this by heart, or maybe I should be able to just implement some general idea or something. We'll see. And that's all in the first week, just spending the first week understanding all of this, which on one hand sounds like a long time, one whole week. On the other hand, this is completely expected. This is how research is slow. You need time. You cannot set a deadline, work 36 hours straight. Doesn't work. It's not gonna work. It doesn't work. Also, be careful, because a lot of people would say, oh my god, just spending one whole week on understanding this paper is too long. So instead, they don't understand it ever. But spending a week to understand some paper is completely expected. Then week 2, it wants me to implement it, to run it, to reproduce baseline, and then week 3 plus start doing experiments and research. So first 2 weeks go just to understanding and implementing. Now with the help of Gemini, let's try to understand this equation 33 and possibly prove it. Authors are trying to prove that hyperconnections is just a generalization of residual connections. So you know that residual connections just pass data. The same data they get, they also pass the same data. So the authors here are trying to prove that their invention, hyperconnections, is same as residual plus a lot more things. So it's a generalization. They're trying to prove that if you freeze this hyperconnection matrix to a specific configuration of zeros and ones, then it behaves exactly the same as pre-norm residual connections. So input plus input passed through the layers. So this is in the transformer. So let's say in attention layer, you have input that goes through attention layer, and then output of that attention layer gets added to this input. So there is a residual connection directly from input, and that gets added to the output of the attention layer. So it's like processed and not processed get added. That's residual connection. This is in standard transformer architecture. So the standard pre-norm residual connection is defined as this, or as this as well. So let's look at this. We have hidden state that gets normalized and then passed through the layer, which is maybe attention or feed forward, and then this hidden state gets added. So that's the residual, and that gives the new hidden state, the next hidden state. And in this notation, they just look at this norm as part of this layer. So they say this gets passed through this entire thing. I'm gonna now explain how hyperconnections work. It's gonna be a bit difficult. I actually made a video on explaining it, but I'm gonna try to summarize. You may skip because the part after you will understand even if you don't understand this part. So hidden state here will not just be one vector. It will be multiple vectors. So in classic transformers, you just have one hidden state, but here in hyperconnections, you can have multiple, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each is a bit different vector. In the beginning, they may begin as all same vector duplicated, this hidden duplicated vector, but as they get processed, they get changed. And each of the hidden vectors contains a bit different processed information. So that's why this hidden state is a matrix. It's not a vector anymore, it's a matrix. So because it has multiple vectors. So you can see that we are passing this hidden state matrix through some layer that can be attention or feed forward. Now the idea, we don't necessarily want to pass every single hidden state through this layer. So maybe some of the hidden states we will pass and process for later, and some we will not pass into this layer at all. And this AM matrix will determine that. So it's like a matrix of, or actually this is gonna be, you see, it's just gonna be a vector, not a matrix. You see this part here, it's a vector. And it's a vector of zeros and ones. So 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So maybe if you have, let's say, 3 hidden states, and you have 0, 1, 1, it means the first hidden state will get multiplied with 0, so it will not get passed into the layer. And the other 2 hidden states, it will be, so the formula is like this. It's first hidden state times 0 plus second hidden state times 1 plus third hidden state times 1. If it's 0, 1, 1, let's say, this vector. So then the second and third vector hidden state will be added and then passed through the layer. Now guys, after this layer finishes processing, it's just gonna produce one vector. No matter how many hidden states got passed, it will just produce one hidden state, one vector. And so, you see here, layer is just gonna produce one vector. Now, that output might be added to this first hidden state, just like a residual, and to second, for example, or it might just be added to the first one. It may not be added to the second. Like in this example. Here, the output is just added to this one, but there is no line going from output of the layer added here. So this is our layer output, and this matrix will determine to which of the hidden states this layer output will be added. So it will actually multiply by 0. If, let's say, we don't want to add to the first one, it will be 0. It will multiply by 0, so you will just add 0. If you want to add to second one, it will be multiplied by 1, so it will add 1. So this is the layer output, and it determines what gets into the layer, which ones combined, and where the output gets added to which connections, to which hyperconnections. And then this is the actual residual connection here. So that's this guy here, the residual connection that's circling around the layer, that's not going through the layer. So you see here, this residual connection does get added to the layer output, and here it also gets added. For example, this residual connection does not get added to the layer output, and I'm pretty sure they might not even be a residual connection. Although it's not shown here, but maybe the network, the whole idea here is that network can decide if it will, what it will pass through the layer, where it will add layer outputs, and maybe it can, I'm pretty sure it can decide not to have a residual connection at all sometimes. So this part is the layer processing, what gets in and where the out gets added. And this is the residual connections that circulate around the layer. So hidden state times this matrix, which is here this smaller left right matrix. So these A's. You see here AR. So that's this formula explained. I made a video. Check the playlist below is the second video in the course. Now the authors say if you have this particular matrix here, this is your classic pre-norm residual connection in classic transformer. You see here, for example, this feed forward. You have going through the feed forward, going around, although normalization here is after the feed forward. Usually we will put it now before feed forward. But that formula is that. So if we see these zeros and ones, we can see here what each one is. Now this is just one hidden state. I said hyperconnections can have multiple hidden states, but here we're gonna just have one. As you can see here, there is just one. So AR is just one. And in that case, you have a classic pre-norm residual. So we know that we have just one hidden state. So if we think step by step, this one means that that hidden state goes into the layer. Attention, for example, this hidden state, this one means that the output of that layer gets added to the residual connection. And this one means that this hidden state has a residual connection that gets added. So if this was 0, then the output of the layer would get added, but it would get added to 0. There would be no residual connection. If I didn't mention, AM is a column vector. It shows inputs to the layer. B is a row vector that shows to which residual connections the output of the layer gets added. And AR is a matrix. It shows which of the hidden state get passed to be added to after to the layer output. So in case we have that particular matrix, we can prove that that's the same as this pre-norm residual connection. We will remind ourselves that transpose of scalar is the scalar itself. So we have that B is equal to 1, AR is equal to 1, and AM is equal to 1. So all of this is equal to 1. So that's gonna disappear here. Transpose is gonna be same. AM is gonna disappear, and AR is gonna disappear, all equal to 1. Math is so interesting, by the way. You can prove some idea you have in like hard maths. The only thing that we have is they say that big H is equal to small h transposed. So small h is your hidden vector in your classic transformer. It's just a hidden vector. So it has some dimension. So the dimension is d times 1. So it's just like a this vector, 1, 2, 3. And then the hyperhidden matrix, it has a bit different dimension. So dimension is number of hidden states times the dimension of the hidden state. So you see how D is here on the right and D is here on the left. So that's why it needs to be transposed. And we said we have just one hidden state. Let's say if we have one hidden state, then because this here has just one number in the column, this has just one number in this row, so you ignore this 0, but you ignore this 0 always. This doesn't mean anything. And then this is 1 by 1 matrix, which is just a scalar. So that's how we know we have just one hidden state. So then this will become 1 times D. So you see D times 1 and 1 times D. So this is the small h, this is the large h. So that's why we say that large h is equal to small h transposed. But you could actually say that this h is also 1 times D. So then both of them would be 1 times D. So you wouldn't need transpose. They are putting transpose here just because of some conventions and some algebra rules when writing math. So in code, we would implement it 1 times D, while in math, they do D times 1 when they write math notations about this machine learning stuff. So it's a bit confusing. I don't want to confuse you though. So in formal linear algebra, a vector is always a vertical column unless stated otherwise. So this is what a vector looks like in formal algebra. Now this is D times 1, but D times 1 in code would look like this. So it would have like array, and then each element would be in its own array. So that's a bit confusing. So in math, it's written like this, but if you write these dimensions in code, it's not like this, it's like this. So that's confusing, but doesn't matter here. Our main goal was to just prove that this hyperconnections is just a generalization of the standard pre-norm residual, and it contains that as well. That's it for this video. We're gonna keep understanding this and doing our own research. And so see you in the next video. Join my school to become AI researcher. Currently there is a free trial, a link below.